Lastly, SMART. So it's important, right? This is kind of our last lifeline. When we are going through our airway algorithm, this is the last thing that we can do to save someone. If we can't bag them, if we can't put an extra glottic device in, if we can't intubate them, we have to access their airway through the anterior neck. So SMART gives us an idea if that's going to be possible. Here's a quick review of the anatomy. We're going to go over this in a little more detail in class. But essentially, you have the thyroid cartilage and the cricothyroid, the cricoid cartilage, and between those two, you have this cricothyroid membrane, which lies right behind the cricothyroid ligament. You're going to make a vertical incision, and then you're going to do horizontal incision right into that cartilage on both sides. X marks the spot. So this is your landmark for your cricothyrotomy. Palpating the cricothyroid membrane is what you need to do to assess this. And you need to do this on every patient, because if you wait till you think, oh God, I need to do a cric on a patient, it's too late. You're already behind the 8 ball. So every airway, every time, palpate and find the landmarks. There's truly no absolute contraindication to a cricothyrotomy. There is one we'll discuss later that's a contraindication to an open cricothyrotomy. But this procedure is our last ditch effort. So if we're in the stage of the game where this is our option, this is our only option, and there's no contraindication, because the other option is death. So SMART, the first part of SMART is surgery. So if someone has had a recent surgery to their neck, if they have a scar, they're likely to have edema, maybe increased risk of bleeding. Even distant surgeries will make this a little bit more difficult, because the scar tissue will make palpating landmarks a little more difficult. So be cautious with recent or distant neck surgeries. Mass, for obvious reasons. So you can have a hematoma from trauma that's developing quickly. Maybe post-operative, maybe from a car accident, maybe from a strangling. Any mass that blocks the anterior landmarks or displaces them from the midline is going to make finding these landmarks difficult. Access and anatomy. So obesity has snuck in there one more time, just for good measure. We don't have an O in SMART, but we're like, hey, that has to do with access, so we're going to sneak it in. So obesity hides these landmarks. It's very difficult to palpate the landmarks on a morbidly obese patient. Subcutaneous emphysema, so if you have air, if you have that sort of like bubble wrap in the neck, it can be very difficult. And then a soft tissue infection on the top. Believe it or not, these are relatively common in the neck, especially with IV drug users who have run out of places to shoot up. They start shooting up in their neck, and these are nasty, nasty infections. So radiations or burns. If someone has a burn to their neck that's new or distant, it's going to distort airway anatomy. The newer burns are going to have more edema, more swelling. More distant burns are going to have scar tissue. And radiation comes again in this standpoint for the same reason. Radiation will cause scarring and make palpation of these tissues difficult. Ah, yes, this one's a bit obvious. I don't think you'd need this class to know that this guy is going to be difficult to cric. He looks pretty happy there on the other side, though. But now he's got those post-op scars and drains. Still going to be difficult.